Angelina Jolie, Narcissist, Part 8. There's plenty to continue examining with regard to the behaviour of Angelina Jolie and Jon Voight. A story on Jolie in the January 2007 issue of Vogue noted that she and her father had not spoken in 5 years. Might this be seen as her taking protective action to keep an abusive individual away from her and her family, or is this her devaluing him and leaving him on the shelf? They would, however, talk extremely briefly later that month when Jolie called to tell him that Bertrand had died. While talking to the magazine in late 2006, Jolie reiterated that she was very close to her mother, but wasn't one to lay her troubles at Bertrand's doorstep. "I don't trust anyone," she explained. A lack of trust is an indicator that occurs with many narcissists. "Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. This is going to make you think that maybe I should get some therapy. But trust is such a bizarre word. I'd like to say that I trust my mother, but I also don't know if she might do something that she thinks is in my best interest. I trust that Brad will never do anything. I don't know. I don't trust anybody completely." That hints at some degree of paranoia and the fact that she may well have a hypersensitive setting with regard to threats to control. It wasn't surprising, then, that when Voight was asked by a paparazzo on his way out of the LA airport if he knew anything about the bad experience his daughter had had with Harvey Weinstein 2 decades earlier, which he had just shared with the New York Times, the answer was no. "Angie's spoken about that, and that's it," he said. 2 days after grand twins Knox and Vivienne Jolie-Pitt were born in France in July 2008, Voight acknowledged that he hadn't yet spoken to his daughter, but he felt, like any father, it's the most exciting thing that a new soul is coming in. "You know, I don't think there's anything more exciting than that," the actor, co-starring on 24 at the time, also told E! News at the Television Critics Association Summer Press Tour in Los Angeles. "And they're Angie's babies and Brad's, all my love goes to them. I was very excited. I was just as excited as everybody else." He wasn't sure when he was going to get to meet his newest grandchildren, but Voight said, "If I'm asked, I'll find a way. But I haven't been asked." Again, is this failure to involve him in the lives of his grandchildren a sensible step by Angelina Jolie, or does it show a lack of emotional empathy on her part, both towards the grandchildren and her father? Perhaps it was as a consequence of being in a long-term partnership and wanting her 6 kids to know their grandfather, combined with the fact that she was down to one parent, that eventually got Jolie thinking about a reconciliation. In mid-2010, she told Parade that she and her father were making efforts to repair the relationship. Voight showed up for the Hollywood premiere of her 2011 directorial debut, the Bosnian war drama In the Land of Blood and Honey. And at the end of the year, she told Marie Claire that all wasn't perfect, but they were in each other's lives again. "He's met the kids, and they've met him, and I think that's important that they can do that," Jolie said in the January 2012 issue. We are in each other's lives, but we don't, as a rule, discuss the past. When my mother passed, I had to be the one to call him and tell him. I was going to write it in a letter, because I hadn't spoken to him in 6 years, but I realized that I had to make a phone call. We spoke for about 2 minutes. I was not calling to take care of him, I was calling to pass on information. So it was a very brief conversation. In 2013, Voight said they were back on track. Asked if he was a hands-on granddad, he told Gayle King, I try to be. Yeah, I spoil the kids as much as I can," Voight added with a smile. "I'm crazy about them." He was not at the wedding when Jolie and Pitt decided to get married in 2014, although, of course, it was a low-key affair. It was actually Pitt that insisted that Jolie make peace with her father after the death of her mother, Marceline Bertrand. He allegedly even asked her to do so for the sake of her children, if not herself. After the couple divorced, Voight stated to the press, saying that something serious might have happened for Jolie to take such a huge step. Voight stayed in touch with Pitt even after the divorce, and this annoyed Angelina Jolie. It's been reported that Jolie was in talking terms with her father, but she doesn't share a lot with him. They began to rebuild their relationship over time. Voight even attended events with his daughter and grandchildren, whom she had with Pitt, the Salt actress spoke to Vanity Fair in 2017 about getting back in touch with her father and making him a permanent member of the family after she separated from and divorced Pitt. Jolie's contentious split from Brad Pitt gave Voight the chance he'd been waiting years for. As Jolie navigated the divorce, she grew closer to Voight than she'd been in decades, saying, "John and I have gotten to know each other through grandchildren now. We're finding a new relationship." Unprompted, Voight said, "Brad has had some difficulties with alcohol, and I hope that he takes care of things and I pray for the guy." Might that have been an attempt to issue a subtle dig at Pitt to try and help his daughter with regard to the custody battle? Might it also have been that Angelina Jolie only reconciled with her father to give herself an edge in the ongoing custody battle? Maybe she was aware that her usually loudmouth father could throw her under the bus, and she recognised, thinking ahead and seeing the threat that he posed, that it was better to get him on side. The lowest point in Jolie and Voight's relationship came not long after the interview. Everyone in Hollywood knew Jolie and her friend and her dad were in a difficult position. They ran into one another at Paramount's 90th anniversary party. When Voight saw his daughter, he made a beeline towards her, only for her manager to step in and physically block him from getting anywhere near her. Voight said he just wanted to give his daughter a hug. He claimed she was avoiding him because she knows I've been trying to reach her to get help. Jolie's manager said Voight barged up to his daughter and aggressively physically grabbed her against her will. That, of course, was some time ago, but it showed a variance of recollections, which suggests a revision of history on somebody's part. Later on, as things became improved as a consequence of their reconciliation when she had divorced Brad Pitt, which, as I mentioned earlier, could be seen in a somewhat cynical light, Voight turned up with the whole family at the premiere of 2019's Maleficent 2. Reporters flocked to him, and they questioned him for personal details about Jolie. On this occasion, he kept his mouth shut, saying, "It isn't for me to say." In 2020, Jolie wrote a heartbreaking piece in the New York Times about her mother, and Voight loomed large, not in a good way. She wrote, "When my father had an affair, it changed my mother's life. It set her dream of family life ablaze, but she still loved being a mother. Her dreams of being an actor faded as she found herself at the age of 26, raising 2 children with a famous ex who would cast a long shadow on her life." It seems appropriate to end with that quotation because it would appear that her father has cast a long shadow on her life. It's certainly been a tumultuous relationship between the two, marked by long periods of neither speaking to the other, an aggressive confrontation at the awards as mentioned, and then, more recently, some form of reconciliation. It's certainly been an on-off relationship. But is this one between a difficult father, who may well be a narcissist, and his victim daughter? Or is it a situation of a clash of 2 narcissists? The evidence certainly provides us with opportunities to draw appropriate conclusions from it. What also the relationship with her father shows that it's certainly the case that Jon Voight has many narcissistic indicators himself and may well be a narcissist who both contributed to the genetic predisposition being passed on to his daughter and the creation of a lack of control environment by his abandoning of the family when he had an affair, his failure to be involved with his children, and thereafter only using those children when it suited him. Next, we're going to turn to the relationship between Angelina Jolie and her brother. Join me there in part 9.